The hydrogen is at minus 253 degrees Celsius, and the liquid oxygen at minus 150 degrees Celsius. That's very cold. So cold, in fact, that the fluids evaporate. So we top up right until the last few seconds, and you'll see them disconnecting 5 seconds before launch.
À tous de DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute. Top H0 moins 1 minute.
We are live at the Arianespace Center for the launch of Intelsat 33E, built by Boeing, and Intelsat 36, built by Space Systems Loral for the world-leading operator Intelsat. Our best wishes to all the teams as we get close to liftoff. Good luck, everybody.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage du Vulcain. Allumage des EAP, décollage. Les paramètres bord sont normaux. La trajectoire est nominale.
What a sight. Blazing a trail across the equatorial skies, heading east over the Atlantic. We broke the sound barrier after 48 seconds. We are now supersonic.
Les paramètres bord sont normaux, la trajectoire est nominale.
Everything's going according to plan, he's telling us. And the boosters are doing all the work right now. Those two huge rockets on either side of the main stage, they're providing 90% of our thrust, and they're doing exactly what they say on the tin. They are boosting us away from the gravity of the Earth. It takes an awful lot of firepower to do that. They're burning 2 tons of propellant a second each. That's on average what a car uses in a year.
Séparation des étages d'accélération à poudre.
They have burnt their propellant. We don't need them anymore, so we can lose them and jettison them, and we are losing weight. We've lost about 3/4 of our weight in just over 2 minutes. That's the aim of the game. The lighter we are, the faster we go. So we're now burning the main stage, that big tank of cryogenic propellant there. The grey tank is powering us up into the sky. It burns for about 9 minutes. Take a look at the top of the vehicle. On the right-hand side, the pointy nose. That's what we call the fairing. The satellites are inside it, and it's protecting them from the rigours of the launch. notably the acoustic vibrations at liftoff. It's very loud. And friction,
Séparation de la coiffe.
because so far we've been travelling through the dense part of the atmosphere, but now we don't need the fairing anymore because the atmosphere is so thin there's no friction. And you can see how it flexes as it falls.
Paramètres bord sont normaux.
That's called the breathing mode. It's all part of the plan. So the captain has switched off the seatbelt signs and we can see Intelsat 33 for the first time. There it is, the solar panels, those blue sections on the right-hand side you can see. And the round things are the reflectors. On the bottom of the screen, our altitude, 136 kilometers above the Earth. We've gone beyond what's often known as the Kármán line, named after the Hungarian-American
La
aerospace engineer
trajectoire est nominale.
Theodor von Kármán, who was working in the first half of the century, the last century. And the Kármán line is around about 100 kilometers above sea level. That's about 62 miles. It's often thought of as the border with outer space, and that's because at this altitude the atmosphere is so thin that the air can no longer support flight with wings. So aeroplanes are out, rockets are in. It's where aeronautics ends and astronautics begins.
Paramètres bord sont normaux, le pilotage est calme.
We're looking here at the Galileo tracking station. That's the tracking station at the Arienespace Centre. You can see the dot there just above it is our launcher. Intelsat has launched 2 satellites already this year from the Arienespace Centre. Intelsat 29E lifted off in January on board an Ariane V, and Intelsat 31 was launched in May. That's providing media services over Latin America. Our distance in the middle of the bottom of the screen is the distance from the pad. If you were to draw a straight
La propulsion
line,
est nominale. Il reste 3 minutes de propulsion de l'EPC.
he's telling us that we have 3 minutes of propulsion left on the main stage. So if you were to draw a line from the launch pad to the position of the launcher above our planet, it would be right now a distance of 753 kilometers. And on the bottom right hand of the screen you can see our speed. We're travelling at 4.16 kilometers per second. Per second, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that's extremely fast, and we are going to be going faster. In fact, once you cross the Kármán line, you have to travel at the mind-boggling speed of 18,000 miles per hour.
Paramètres bord sont normaux. La trajectoire est nominale. Il reste 2 minutes de propulsion de l'étage principal cryotechnique.
In order to stay up. He's telling us we've got 2 minutes left now on the main stage propulsion phase. We're looking at CGI images here, computer-generated images. We're pretty well seeing what's happening in space. Basically, the experts calculate a very precise schedule of events based on extremely accurate predictions. They put all of that information into the computer, and the images we see here are a simulation of those predictions.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Natal au Brésil.
So we're picking up the signal now at the Natal tracking station. That's in Brazil. Can you see it there?
Plus qu'une minute de propulsion de l'EPC.
1 minute left of propulsion on the main stage. And we launch from the equator, the edge of the Amazon rainforest, here at the Arienespace Centre. This was 8 minutes and 20 seconds ago. It was a beautiful launch. And we have 3 launches here. A family of 3 bears, if you like Daddy Bear, Mummy Bear and Baby Bear. Ariane V is the big heavy lifter. Soyuz is Mummy Bear, the middle-sized lifter. And Vega is the baby of the family, taking our smaller satellites into low Earth orbit. The Vulcan engine is propelling the main stage. It's now switching off.
Séparation de l'étage principal cryotechnique.
We have separation now of the main stage. It's been jettisoned because it's burnt all its propellant.
L'étage supérieur cryotechnique.
And we've switched on the engine of the upper stage. The final stage that is left now of our vehicle. You can see it, the white and grey disc. It's switched its engine on, and this is the beginning of the next phase now in our journey. The upper stage has taken the wheel. It's our taxi driver. Its job is to transport our satellites to their correct orbit so that we can start the process of releasing them. And from there they'll have to travel to their final destination, which is called geostationary orbit, and that's 36,000 kilometers above our planet. Intelsat is one of the world's leading operators, and Arianespace and Intelsat are old friends. Everybody at Arianespace is really delighted to be transporting 2 more satellites for them. Intelsat's Arianespace's largest American customer. They've been working together since 1983. That was with the launch of Intelsat 507. Some of you will remember it. So these teams know each other well. And over 3 decades, Arianespace has delivered half of Intelsat's fleet. Today we are delivering the 57th and 58th to lift off from the jungle here at the Guyana Space Centre. And they're going to be important members of the fleet.
Thank you for joining us to watch today's launch of Intelsat 36 and our second Intelsat Epic satellite, Intelsat 33E. The missions of these satellites illustrate the dramatic changes taking place in the media and broadband sectors throughout Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Access to affordable broadband connectivity and content distribution is essential for the exchange of data and ideas that support economic growth of individuals, communities, and countries. Intelsat 33E and Intelsat 36 will enable millions of people across 3 continents to have the broadband connectivity they need to drive GDP growth and foster strong communications within and outside their respective communities. It will also help distribute informative and entertaining content to millions of households across sub-Saharan Africa. The first satellite, Intelsat 33E, is the second of our 7 Intelsat Epic satellites. This addition to our high-throughput fleet will extend the benefits of high performance, greater efficiencies, and simplified access to customers in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia Pacific. Intelsat 33E, the 65th satellite built for us by Boeing, is in the upper position on today's launch. It features a digital payload connecting 100% of the frequencies on the satellite. The higher performance and greater flexibility of Intelsat 33E will better serve our enterprise, telecom, mobility, and government customers with custom-built satellite solutions to take their applications to the next level. Turning to Intelsat 36, it is located in the lower position of the rocket and continues our decades-long relationship with Africa's leading direct-to-home television provider, MultiChoice. It was built by SSL and is the 52nd SSL satellite flown by Intelsat. SSL delivered our satellite in 24 months, working closely with Intelsat and MultiChoice from the inception of the program. Intelsat 36 will be co-located with Intelsat 20 at 68.5 degrees east, a leading hotspot for entertainment in southern Africa and the Indian Ocean region. Intelsat 36 C-band payloads enhances services for other customers at 68.5 degrees east, including many of South Asia's leading content distributors. Together, these two satellites demonstrate Intelsat's commitment to innovation. As the operator of the world's first globalized network, we continue to push boundaries in the sky as well as on the ground to fulfill our mission to create value for our customers and transform quality of life around the world. On behalf of Intelsat's employees, I'd like to express our appreciation to our manufacturers, Boeing and SSL, and to our launch provider, Arienespace, for delivering best-in-class service and ensuring that we remain on schedule. To the Intelsat team, thank you for your dedication and commitment to excellence to benefit our customers. Lastly, thank you to our customers. We value your trust in Intelsat and never take it for granted. It's a pleasure to partner with you and help you achieve your business goals. Most of all, it is rewarding to watch the work we do together enhance the lives of millions of people across the globe. Let's go Intelsat 33E and Intelsat 36.
Our flight path takes us out across the Atlantic, along the equator, across Africa, and we'll start separating the satellites off the east coast of Africa. And ground stations along the flight path are tracking Ariane as she flies over. It's called telemetry. And during that film, we picked up the signal at the tracking station. The tracking station in Ascension Island. It's a volcanic island in the middle of the Atlantic, halfway between South America and Africa. Interestingly, it was a stopping point for commercial airliners during the early days of international air travel. Of course, back in those days, it was difficult to travel all the way across the Atlantic in one go. And NASA had a communications dish there during the space race. And I think I'm right in saying that it was used to track the Apollos. Intelsat 36 is a communications satellite for TV and internet, and it'll mainly serve the South African and Indian Ocean regions. Space Systems Loral built it at their plant in Palo Alto in California. And they designed it to support a company called MultiChoice. MultiChoice is the leading TV and video provider in South Africa.
La trajectoire est nominale, le pilotage est calme.
The trajectory is nominal, normal, and everything's going according to plan. Intelsat 36 is an important satellite for MultiChoice.
Mark, thank you for joining me today to talk about the exciting launch of IS-36. We have a long-standing relationship with MultiChoice, going back some 25 years, back to 1991, when you guys only had a single channel.
It's a pleasure to be here, Brian. And that single channel, Mnet, is turning 30 years in November, can you believe it? And it's now grown into several hundred channels across sub-Saharan Africa. And we couldn't have done any of it without Intelsat. So we're really grateful for the partnership we've had to date. We now offer lots of high-quality channels, many more of them, as well as high definition, and our catch-up service, as well as other exciting products.
So Mark, let's talk about this satellite, IS-36. It's a special satellite to both companies. Will be co-located at IS-20 at 68.5 degrees east. Largely seen as one of the premier video neighborhoods across Africa, with significant DTH and media distribution presence. Intelsat 36 presents a significant increase in your capacity. Can you share with us some of your plans around this asset?
So Brian, MultiChoice is seen as one of the leading and most innovative video entertainment companies in Africa, and we're committed to bringing our customers the freshest and best local and international content, delivered across a variety of platforms to consume whenever and wherever they want to.
Mark, our employees are listening to this broadcast across the globe. very proud of the fact that we're supporting MultiChoice with this outstanding long-term relationship that we've had with you. It also carries the C-band payload capacity to serve some of the other regions, like Southern Asia, with some of the content provision that we provide into those regions with these new services. Intelsat 36 also provides resilience to your infrastructure. How does this fit into your overall value chain?
Brian, this satellite will act as a backup to our existing IS-20 satellite, taking some risk out of our business to make sure our customers have their services uninterrupted.
That's brilliant, Mark. Thank you for the confidence that you've placed in Intelsat. So what's next for MultiChoice?
Brian, we continue to grow our business as fast as technology and content will allow. We want to bring people a great viewing experience, the best local and international content, plus box office, catch-up, the best video-on-demand service we can give them in Africa. And we do that together with Intelsat, our long-term partner.
And so do we, Mark. Here's to many new years shared with this great partnership that we've enjoyed with MultiChoice over the years. Mark, all that's left to say is go Intelsat 36.
And during that film we had the signal acquisition at the tracking station in Libreville. That's on the west coast of Africa. So we've crossed the Atlantic. We have actually a very American launch today. We have 2 satellites built by 2 North American companies, Boeing and Space Systems Loral, for a North American operator, Intelsat. And they've chosen to launch their babies from Europe Spaceport, which is here in South America. Indeed, Arianespace has a long history of partnership with the US, and this year our Washington office is celebrating its 30th birthday. It opened back in 1986. Congratulations, you guys. A few other numbers for you. After tonight's launch, Arianespace will have lofted 87 satellites for US operators. And we've launched half of all of their geostationary satellites. And in terms of manufacturers, we will have orbited 177 satellites built by American industry. Intelsat 33E was manufactured by Boeing, as we've said, and Arianespace have been working with Boeing for 3 decades. It's Boeing's 52nd bird to lift off from the pad here. So let's find out more now about Intelsat 33E. And as we've been hearing, Intelsat 33E is the
Acquisition de la
second
télémesure lanceur par la station de Malindi au Kenya.
in Intelsat's EPIC series, and Arianespace has launched both of those first two EPIC satellites. So we picked up the signal there at the tracking station in Malindi. That's in Kenya, on the east coast of Africa. So we're crossing Africa and we'll soon start heading out across the Indian Ocean. Our altitude, climbing 490 kilometers above the Earth. We're a little bit higher than the International Space Station. That usually orbits at an average of 400 kilometers high. That's about 248 miles. It circles the globe every 90 minutes at roughly 18,000 miles an hour. That's to stay above the Kármán line, remember? And in one day it travels about the same distance as the Moon and back. So how does Ariane know what to do and when? Well, the upper stage has a brain. It's the intelligent part. It's in the vehicle equipment bay, and it's more than just an onboard computer. It's a whole management system. It analyzes information from the engines, the navigation, etc.
Paramètres bord sont normaux, la trajectoire est nominale.
It's telling it that everything is going according to plan. And it makes decisions for the best outcome of the mission. And right now it's getting ready to switch off the engine.
Extinction de l'ESC sur commande de guidage.
So we have now switched off the engine on the upper stage of our launcher, and that means that we are on the right path, at the right speed, to start cruising without the engine.
D'orientation au profit d'Intelsat 33E.
We've now entered what we call the ballistic phase. Ballistic means that we're traveling without propulsion. We're effectively on celestial autopilot right now. Now, there's been some great cooperation between the teams.
I would like to thank the many dedicated employees of Boeing, Arianespace, and Guyana Space Center for their invaluable contribution to this project, culminating in today's launch on Ariane V. As in past programs, and most recently our first EPIC satellite, IS-29E, launched in January, this launch is a testament to the ability of Intelsat in cooperation with Boeing, Arianespace, and CSG to come together and execute extremely complex set of operations that require enormous amount of coordination across multitude of disciplines and organizations. For that, we are extremely grateful. After completion of in-orbit testing, IS-33E will replace IS-904 at 60 degrees east. It will provide extremely high-quality communication services to our customers starting in November. In closing, once again, our thanks to Boeing, Arianespace, and Guyana Space Center for making what was just an idea mere 3.5 years ago into a reality today.
And a lot of people have worked extremely hard in those 3.5
La manœuvre
years.
d'orientation au profit d'Intelsat 33E.
We are in what we often call the space ballet phase. Once we release our satellite, it has to travel to its final orbital slot. That's geostationary orbit, 36,000 kilometers above Earth. And in order for it to do that, we have to put it into the right attitude for its journey. So right now, we are orientating the upper stage so that it can release the satellite onto its correct orbit. to that injection point. We call it the injection point because we effectively inject it into space. We're still climbing, and we need to get to an altitude of 1,225 kilometers above Earth. So keep your eye on the altitude on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. That's our separation altitude.
Séparation du satellite Intelsat 33E.
And we are there. We have separated Intelsat 33E, released it into space. Huge congratulations to the Intelsat 33E teams and to Boeing. Well done, everybody. There it goes. Moving away from the mothership.
Début de la manœuvre d'orientation au profit du système de lancement double Ariane.
Intelsat 33E is now heading out on its own journey to its orbital slot, and the work is just beginning for the Intelsat teams, who will be concentrating hard as they monitor the first maneuvers. But we still have Intelsat 36 attached, and it's underneath the black structure there. We call that the cylinder. For the French speakers amongst us, that means the Système de Lancement Double Ariane, the double launch system for Ariane. It's like a small fairing. It protects the satellite in the lower position, but it also provides the attachment mechanism for the satellite in the upper position. So it was attaching IS-33E. And this is what
Séparation du système de lancement double Ariane.
makes dual launches possible on Ariane 5. It's now separating and moving away. Now all these maneuvers are extremely careful. So look at the right-hand side of your screen. You can see Intelsat 36 for the first time. There it is. It's smaller than Intelsat 33. It's about 3.3 tons. It's roughly half the size, or half the mass. Built by Space Systems Lheureux on their 1300 bus. Climbing in altitude, we are coming up to 12,000 kilometers from the launch pad. And there we can just see in the corner of the screen on the left, Intelsat 33E heading off on its journey. Our altitude, 1,853 kilometers. 33E has some great applications. So we have crossed Africa.
Dernière manœuvre d'orientation au profit Intelsat 36.
Still performing our orientation maneuvers. We're heading out now across the Indian Ocean. I think we might be flying over the Seychelles. We lifted off from the equator 35 minutes ago and 16 seconds. That's on the edge of the Amazon rainforest, the Arienespace Center. And there are some advantages of launching from the equator. It's the fastest route to geostationary orbit. If you think about it, because of the natural rotation of the Earth, we're actually already effectively moving in the right direction, even when we're on the pad. So it gives us additional speed at the equator. That's when we're launching to the east, of course. So let's just take a look at our speed and altitude here. Our altitude at the moment, we are 2,818 kilometers. We need to climb to an altitude of 4,270 kilometers in order to inject our next satellite. Now, the teams receiving the information from the tracking stations are here at the Guyana Space Center. This is the telemetry station here, or the CVI, real-time visual control. They receive the information, make a quick selection to check how the flight is progressing in real time, and they can then analyze the information later to see how the vehicle performed, make adjustments for future flights. It's called the Level 0 Flight Evaluation, and that takes place several weeks after the launch. Right now they are focusing hard as we get closer to separation of our second satellite. Good Intelsat poster flag there. I mentioned earlier that Arianespace has a long history with North American companies, and the order book for the US is looking good. In terms of geostationary satellites, Arianespace has 7 launches planned for American operators and 18 satellites manufactured in the US. And for satellites closer to Earth, we've been contracted to launch hundreds of smaller communications satellites for various operators, including OneWeb, and we shall be lofting those in batches. For science, Arianespace has been chosen to launch the James Webb Space Telescope, and Arianespace is working alongside NASA, the European Space Agency, and the CSA on that. James Webb is planned to fly on an Ariane V at the end of 2018. So we've got lots of really exciting launches to come. Coming closer to the separation of Intelsat 36, climbing in altitude there. Once it's released, it's going to travel to its orbital slot at 68.5 degrees east. There's been some great teamwork on the Intelsat 36 teams.
This program kicked off less than 2 years ago and serves as an example of the efficient and effective partnership we have with our partners. The payload capability packed into Intelsat 36, which was delivered and integrated on Ariane V on such a tight schedule, represents a tremendous value for our customers and Intelsat. This could not have been done without the determined and dedicated individuals we have come to rely on through the years. So for that, I personally thank all of you. Once orbit raising and in-orbit testing are completed, Intelsat 36 will go on to be co-located with Intelsat 20 and begin service to our customers by the 1st of October. As always, I would like to thank SSLNDA, Arianespace, CSG, and our friends at Freelance.
So our speed at the moment, we are 7.25 kilometers per second. We have dropped our speed slightly. Don't forget, we are traveling now without our engine. But we are climbing in altitude, getting closer and closer to our injection point, nearly 4,000 kilometers high. And we've traveled over 14,000 kilometers in a straight line across the Earth. It always amazes me when we look at these images because it looks as if everything's happening incredibly slowly. But of course, the reality is it's happening at phenomenal speeds. We are hurtling through space at 7 kilometers per second. I suppose that's because on Earth there are always objects around, buildings, trees, so we get a sense of relativity, but in space there's nothing for us to compare with. But of course it's that speed which allows us to effectively slingshot our satellites onto their orbits. Just imagine if you were to sling a stone fast enough, it would basically keep going instead of falling back down to Earth. So we need to get to an altitude of 4,270 kilometers. A word about separation. We have a set of springs, compressed springs.
Séparation du satellite Intelsat 36.
And we have separation of Intelsat 36. Congratulations, everybody. Congratulations to Intelsat, Space Systems Loral, and to MultiChoice. It's been a great campaign. Well done, everybody. And there it goes, pinging into space, just like a jack-in-a-box, coming out of its box. When you release the springs, boing, it goes. So this is the 73rd success in a row for Arianespace, and there's some very happy faces there in the Jupiter Mission Control Center. Teams who have worked together over a long period of time, very closely. Everyone looking very happy. A great feeling of a job well done. Culmination of many months' work for some, and many years for others. People work incredibly hard during a campaign, and it's very intense. So these guys and girls will be wanting to relax now. Although for some, it's a quick turnaround for the next campaign. Because, of course, the launch rate here at the Guyana Space Center is good. So let's have a think about the teams on the ground. Thinking about you guys and girls now taking on the job of flying your satellites, the control centers, going through all kinds of procedures now to make sure that the satellites are doing what they're supposed to be doing up there in space.
So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Arianespace is delighted to announce that Intelsat 33E and Intelsat 36 have been separated as planned on the targeted standard geostationary transfer orbit. We have had an unexpected event a few minutes before the beginning of the synchronized sequence. I'm not authorized to say more about that. I have seen some tweets from journalists which seems to be well informed, but we had the feeling that it would be easy tonight, and it has been easy tonight. So for the fourth time this year, we have had a flawless mission for Ariane V, and it is the 73rd success in a row of this rocket. Tonight, after the success of Intelsat 29 on January, Intelsat has entrusted 2 of its satellites to Arianespace for a single mission. This betokens a profound confidence in the reliability and flexibility of the Ariane V launcher. With this flight, Arianespace will have orbited 58 Intelsat satellites since 1983, representing 50% of all Intelsat satellites in operation today. Our partnership will be further enhanced next year with the launch of 2 satellites, 32E and 37E. So for this long-lasting partnership, I would like to express my profound gratitude to Intelsat CEO Steven Spengler. I know he's in Washington, D.C., looking at this launch with his team, customers, partner, and as well here in CSG to Mike DeMarco and Ken Lee. Ken Lee has just come back from the fishbowl, who are with us tonight. It's okay, Ken? You feel comfortable? Okay. Tonight, our happiness is dampened by the tragic loss 3 weeks ago of a dear friend and colleague, Intelsat spacecraft program manager Brian Singh. Brian suddenly passed away the day he was scheduled to come to French Guiana to support the launches of the 2 Intelsat satellites. Brian was highly respected and appreciated by everybody who had the good fortune to work with him. His absence will be deeply felt. In a few minutes after Ken's intervention, we will listen to some words of Steve to pay tribute to Brian. But on behalf of all Arianespace team, I would like to dedicate this launch to Brian and to his memory. Also, our long-lasting partner, Boeing Space Systems, is the manufacturer of Intelsat 33E, the second satellite of the new Epic NG series, launched by Arianespace. It is the 52nd Boeing satellite orbited by Arianespace since 1987. We have 4 more Boeing satellites in our backlog, and we plan to give them the same successful treatment. I would like to congratulate as well Space Systems Loral, who built Intelsat 36, with now 54 SSL satellites orbited since 1983 with Arianespace, and 4 more currently in our backlog. We have accomplished much, and we will continue to do so together. So to Craig Cooning, Boeing Space System CEO, and to John Selly, SSL CEO, who are attending this launch from the US, to all the Boeing and SSL teams, Arianespace give its best wishes. Intelsat, Boeing, SSL, tonight's launch have a strong American flavor. Indeed, with this flight, Arianespace has launched a total of 87 satellites for US operators and 177 satellites manufactured in the US since 1980. It is not by chance. Arianespace has deep roots in the US. We celebrate this year the 30th anniversary of our Washington office, whose team, Clay Maury, Winner Carnisson, Aaron Lewis, Yasmin Almond, is absolutely outstanding. And I would like to thank all the team of the Washington office. Ariane V, tonight's vehicle, was the 87th of the series. But the very first launch since our prime and first shareholder, Airbus Safran Launchers, became fully operational on July the 1st. I would like to thank Airbus Safran Launchers and all the European industry for contributing more than ever to Arianespace successes. Many thanks as well to our institutions and agencies, ESA for sure, and all the member states of the Ariane program, whose support is crucial for our future. CNES, both the qualification authority for Ariane 5 and our daily partner here in CSG. In a few days, we expect the full confirmation of Ariane 6 program at the ESA Council. It will be September the 13th. The final countdown has started. Of course, I say bravo to all my Arianespace colleagues for this latest success, the 6th of the year. We have now 5 more launches to perform by year end, so we will be very busy in the coming months, but it's always better to be busy. So I would now like to welcome to the stage our customers and partners. Thank you very much.